We're here with the second video of the day. Trump has contracted COVID. And left-wing media and anti-Trumpers and just people that support the left, I guess, just wishing the worst possible thing for Trump. And it is getting quite out of hand. I didn't like it when the other side was saying nasty things about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's never right. Please stop doing it, guys. It's getting way out of hand. You should not be wishing death upon anybody for any reason. Especially when you start criticizing, if you start saying Trump, you start criticizing Trump for his way of handling COVID, and then you just wish death upon him. You guys are very hypocritical. You're all just very, very wrong on the way you're going about this. So we got from Daily Mail here first. Is Trump a super spreader? The web of contacts the president has met over the last 7 days, including 8 flights, 2 helicopter rides, 3 rallies, 1 presidential debate, and hardly any masks. So you can tell that this is, pretty biased on the way it's saying this. Trump confirmed Thursday night he and the First Lady had both tested positive for coronavirus. It followed the news 2 hours earlier that top presidential aide Hope Hicks had contracted the virus. The president and Hicks have traveled together multiple times in the last week to various campaign events. All that's just pretty irrelevant anyways. It's Trump got COVID. He's going to have the best healthcare possible. They say they have mild symptoms. They're probably going to end up recovering. We'll see Trump on the campaign trail in a matter of, 4 or 5 days. Maybe a week at most. That's probably about it. I don't know. If Trump takes a week off from all this, that's okay. Biden has already taken more than 7 days off. Like last month, he took 12 days off. I think he called it a lid 12 or 13 days early, almost half of the time. And you know what? If Trump is sick, he's sick. It happens. We also know that he's more than likely going to survive. He's got a 99.96% survivability rate. I think he's probably going to be fine with the level of medical care he's going to receive as president of the United States. So I'm not terribly worried. I'd probably be more worried if someone tries to do something else against him while he is sick, because you never know. People are getting crazy. Someone already tried to send ricin to him. There's already been threats against his life that have been reported. We got isolating after, and this is just from Fox. I'm just going to show through all the different, just kind of what people are saying about it. Isolating after a positive coronavirus diagnosis. How long does it last and what does it entail? They're just kind of saying because Trump, contracted it, they're now just saying crap. Said we're confirmed to have tested positive for the novel coronavirus early Friday morning, and both will be beginning the quarantine and recovery process immediately, the president wrote on Twitter. Trump's personal physician, Dr. Sean P. Conley, it's also said in a memo that while the two will be staying at home in the White House, he expects the president to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering, which I'm sure he will. It begs the question, what should the isolation process entail? So that's basically, what Fox is saying on this. Then we got CNN here. Trump's diagnosis throws election into chaos, threatens governing crisis. So they're going just nuclear with their title. President Donald Trump's diagnosis with COVID-19 presents a stunning new twist in a tumultuous year, throwing an election that is only 32 days away into chaos and raising the great possibility of more American crisis over governance and national security, an already perilous moment. What a paragraph, guys. What a paragraph. Most immediately, there is concern for the health of Trump himself, who is an overweight 74-year-old, is at an elevated risk of complications from the virus, as well as for First Lady Melania Trump, who also tested positive. But attention will inevitably focus on the hubris of a president who mocked mask wearing and social distancing, ignored and downplayed the virus, courted disaster with packed campaign rallies. Okay, you gotta chill, because we know that the survivability rate of coronavirus is 99.96%. So the likelihood is he's probably going to recover with the best medical care possible, because he's the president of the United States. It's just, it gets annoying as hell, because the original model that they're using was saying they were going to be like, what, 2 million deaths. There ended up being 200,000, and they're still trying to use that model, the one that says 2 million deaths. So they've been using that model and then stoking fear from the media constantly. President Donald Trump, First Lady Melania Trump test positive for coronavirus. This is Breitbart. So, they just kind of say, they'll post some of the tweets. And that's pretty much about it. It says the news of Trump's positive test came hours after it was earlier confirmed that his close aide, Hope Hicks, had tested positive for the virus earlier on Thursday after exhibiting symptoms during Trump's trip to Duluth, Minnesota for a rally on Wednesday night. It's going to happen. People are going to get sick. That's all I got to say. He's got good medical care. He's going to be fine, more than likely. So, maybe just lose a couple of pounds, President. I guess that's pretty much about it. Maybe take this time to, get some sun. Get on a bike or something. Maybe ride a bicycle. You'll lose a couple of pounds. I think you'll be fine. White House COVID testing is riddled with hoes, insider says. So this is Daily Beast because, God, Daily Beast is just basically National Enquirer at this point, at least in my eyes. News that President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump had contracted the coronavirus may have sent shockwaves through the nation's capital as it awoke Friday morning. But for those who worked for the president, the surprise was that it had taken this long to get to this point. The White House may house some of the most important figures in government, but for months the testing protocols to screen potentially infectious individuals have been more lax than the president's aides present to the public. Guys, they know about the statistics. They know the survivability rate is 99.96%. People are going to die from diseases, and we can't just shut down absolutely everything. We can't just blame everything on one possible person, especially when we have Democrat governors and politicians just not shutting. Not that they weren't shutting down, it's that they were promoting people to go out en masse at the time. Nancy Pelosi, Andrew Cuomo, you guys suck. Then we got from the Huffington Post, Donald Trump, Melania Trump test positive for the coronavirus. So some people were pretty lax, on their, article about this. They weren't CNN just going, it's chaos, whoa! It's just, Huffington Post kind of just goes over some of the other stuff, and then, whatever CNN says, they just try to stretch their article out as much as they can to try to, seem credible. Washington Post, Trump has mild symptoms of COVID-19, Chief of Staff says. For some reason, it didn't open up the article I actually wanted, so thank you. Live updates, Trump postponing campaign, blah, blah, after testing positive, Biden tests negative. So other articles will say, Biden tested negative. So Biden is the better candidate because he tested negative. I just hate the pageantry of it all. I think that's what irritates me about a lot of news articles. It's the pageantry of it all. Says President Trump is experiencing mild symptoms after he and blah, blah, blah. So, And then they say about Joe Biden didn't contract it or his wife, and I don't really care. But the thing about Washington Post is an hour after the news broke, they decided to post a tweet with an opinion. Imagine what it would be like to never have to think about Trump again. Just less than an hour after news broke of Trump's coronavirus diagnosis, the Washington Post tweeted, imagine what it would be like to never have to think about Trump again. And then you got people that are just like, oh, man, I was praising it when Trump got coronavirus. It's like, I hope he does. It's like, you guys need to chill. You're all just becoming the worst when you're that negative. It's awful. This is what Twitter is. This is why I can't stand Twitter the most. It's just awful. It's a cesspool of hate and negativeness. And boy, do I just despise it. But Washington Post, this is pretty shameful. It has now been deleted. This tweet has been deleted by the Washington Post, but man, it's pretty shameful what you guys will do. Then we've got another one from the Daily Mail. This is celebrities. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Rachel Maddow and Melissa Milano are among celebrities to sympathize with Trump after his COVID infection, but Bette Midler and Tom Arnold join those who aren't so supportive. So read a couple of tweets. Just learned that Hope Hicks tested positive for COVID. Timing so interesting. I guess Trump's quarantining will mean no rallies and no more debates. Convenient. It's awful to always think the worst, but after 4 years of relentless lying, can't be helped. No trust left. Well, he wasn't lying. It was the WHO that were lying, and a bunch of the CDC that kept flip-flopping nonstop, and Democratic governors telling people to go out en masse, and then saying afterwards, like 2 months later, they're just blaming Trump after they were telling people to go out en masse and celebrate. God bless the president and the first lady is from Rachel Maddow. If you pray, please pray for their speedy and complete recovery and for everyone infected everywhere. This virus is horrific and merciless. No one would wish its wrath on anyone. We must get its spread under control. Enough. Hey, I'll respect Rachel Maddow for that, you know. At least that, I guess, it's the 3.5 years of Russiagate that you kept spewing for the ratings. That kind of, you know, turns me off a bit, but hey, I'll respect you for this tweet. Then we got Alyssa Milano, someone who has had COVID-19 and still suffers from post-COVID syndrome. I can honestly say with all that I am that I wouldn't wish this virus on my worst enemy. Please wear a mask. And then, you know, I don't even know why they didn't show a tweet by Tom Arnold, but then mentioned him, but fine. We got Zach Braff, but we were told this was a hoax. That's actually a lie. But why would you get tested for the hoax when you've said many times that that is what causes the hoax? He didn't say that coronavirus is the hoax. He was saying that the Democrats are, like, it's a Democratic hoax, that they are going to use coronavirus. Like, it's like the thing is that he didn't claim that coronavirus is a hoax. Like, he's claiming that it's a Democratic hoax on how much debt there is, how much the media is going to hype it up, how much it's going to fearmonger. That's the Democratic hoax. That's what he means by all that. But then you got, you know, people just, Fotis confirms he has the hoax. It's because they don't actually pay attention, or they're just willfully ignorant, or they don't care and they'd rather lie. Coronavirus, stand back and stand by. He says karma. It's like, oh, I mean, it is what it is. He's got the best healthcare and he'll probably live. So I'm not that worried. Is it still a Democrat hoax? Yeah, I'd still say it's a Democrat hoax because they're trying to fearmonger. Because they said it was absolutely nothing. You didn't have to worry about it back in February. And then a month later, they just tried to blame Trump for it. And then try to blame all deaths on Trump. And you know what? It worked, I guess. People keep spewing it. It's not. They don't try to blame the governors or any of the politicians on the local side that had more control than anybody over the circumstance. Which is what their job is. It's what we elect them for. Says if anything positive can come him testing positive, it would be his followers reevaluating their opinions. If they will now accept a lockdown, social distancing, and mandatory mask wearing, we could crush the virus like we should have from the start. That's like Mark Hamill. It's not why people are angry. People are angry about the lockdown specifically because now it is destroying the economy, destroying more lives than coronavirus will. That's the issue, especially considering they're using a model that tried to use 2 million deaths when we know it was 200,000. 1/10 of that. So why won't they update their models? That's the real issue. I'm pretty much done now, just kind of reading these tweets and from all these blue checkmark people. I don't care anymore. You celebrities, you blue checkmark people, you guys think you're relevant, but boy, you really aren't in the grand scheme of things. In the grand scope of the universe, you are just dust and absolutely nothing. We all are. Then you got New York Times, COVID-19 lab at Trump's virus symptoms appear mild so far. I'm sure he'll be fine. You know, Politico, this is the worst nightmare for the Trump campaign. Ah! So yeah, Politico just trying to play up and trying to fear people because they're not any better than CNN, I'll say that. New York Post, Trump campaigning grounded for now by COVID-19 diagnosis. I'm only saying the headlines just to try to see, because, you know, you can clearly see some people are stoking fear. Some people are just like, oh, you just contracted COVID-19, okay. And then they'll be like, well, they'll try to blame for something, so I'd claim it's a hoax, blah, blah. They'll try to say something. AP fact check, Biden distorts Trump's words on virus hoax. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is presenting a distorted account of President Donald Trump's words on the coronavirus, wrongly suggesting Trump branded the virus a hoax. In fact, Trump pronounced Democratic criticism of his pandemic response a hoax. Biden tweeted a video mashup of Trump's rhetoric on the crisis, sampling the many times the president has underplayed the severity of the pandemic. A look. So then you'll see Trump in public, hoax, Trump in private, killer. Yeah, Biden, your other campaign ad that also labeled Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist, that was awful as well. That's completely shameful, and I'm glad Lynn Wood is going after you for that. It says the facts. The accusation and the selective video editing are misleading. At the rally featured in the video, Trump actually said the phrases, the coronavirus and this is their new hoax at separate points, which is very true. He said it probably, a good minute apart from each other? Yeah. Although his meaning is difficult to discern, the broader context of his words show he was railing against Democrats for their denunciation of his administration's coronavirus response. Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus, he said. You know that, right? Coronavirus, they're politicizing it, and they are. He meandered briefly to the subject of the messy Democratic primary in Iowa, then the Russia investigation, before returning to the pandemic. They tried the impeachment hoax, and this is their new hoax. Yet, not saying that coronavirus itself is the hoax, but that Democrats will use it to their advantage. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Right media, right Democrats. You elite establishment. Then we got from Post Millennial, disgusting. Left-wing lunatics celebrate Donald Trump and First Lady contracting COVID-19. So yeah, we had shown a bunch of blue check marks for saying that. Washington Post. People, you gotta chill. You gotta stop being so negative on Twitter. It's just a cesspool of negativity, and it's awful. Just an awful place to be. If I want to go and be depressed, I go to Twitter, because it's a very, very sad thing to look at. All of it. Just all of it in general. I think that's because I decided to take a step back and just view everything more as a whole and try to see what everyone's saying. And yeah, Twitter is just a huge cesspool. I'm glad I never got into it. It's like, yeah, I'll post stuff on my Twitter for this channel, but yeah, that's pretty much about it at this point. I started doing some comments, and yeah, I can't take it anymore. I'm just done with Twitter. We also got from Vice News, Trump has COVID. What the hell happens now? Trump presidency and his re-election have been thrown into chaos overnight. I doubt it really. Trump will be fine in a couple of days. He'll be back on the campaign trail. I'm sure they'll end up holding more rallies. They'll just do it differently now. That's about it. We got vile Democrats show their true colors in response to Trump announcing he and Melania tested positive from coronavirus from Gateway Pundit. So yeah, after midnight on Friday, President Donald Trump announced that he and the First Lady Melania tested positive for the coronavirus. And then, people, that's it. Just more people. So, we went through a whole bunch of articles about all this. Everyone's got to be talking about it. I guess it's big news. Trump will be fine. We know the survivability rate is really high. I'm not terribly worried, considering he's the president with the best medical care in the world. I'm just going to leave it there. We'll have one more video coming up in a bit. I'll see them.